Small business, infrastructure, clean energy, these are areas in which we can put Americans to work while putting our nation on a sturdier economic footing. That foundation for sustained economic growth, that must be our continuing focus and our ultimate goal. I've said this before. Even before this particular crisis, much of our growth for a decade or more had been fueled by unsustainable consumer debt and reckless financial speculation. While we ignored the fundamental challenges that hold the key to our economic prosperity. We cannot simply go back to the way things used to be. We can't go back to an economy that yielded cycle after cycle of speculative booms and painful busts. We can't continue to accept an education system in which our students trail their peers in other countries. And a healthcare system in which exploding costs put our businesses at a competitive disadvantage. And we cannot continue to ignore the clean energy challenge or seed. Global leadership in the emerging industries of the 21st century. And that's why, even as we strive to meet the crisis of the moment, we have insisted on laying a new foundation for the future. Because an educated workforce is essential to a 21st century global economy, we've launched a competitive race to the top fund through the Recovery Act to reform our schools and raise achievement, especially in math and science. And we've made college more affordable, proposed a historic set of reforms and investments in community college. And set a goal of once again leading the world in producing college graduates by the year 2020. Because even the best trained worker in the world can't compete if our businesses are saddled with rapidly increasing healthcare costs. We are fighting to do what we have discussed in this country for generations. Finally reforming our nation's broken health insurance system and relieving this unsustainable burden. Because our economic future depends on a financial system that encourages sound investments, honest dealings. And long-term growth, we proposed the most ambitious financial reforms since the Great Depression. We'll set and enforce clear rules of the road, close loopholes in oversight. Charge a new agency with protecting consumers and address the dangerous, systemic risks that brought us to the brink of disaster. These reforms are moving through Congress, we're working to keep those reforms strong. And I'm looking forward to signing them into law. And because our economic future depends on our leadership in the industries of the future. We are investing in basic applied research, and working to create the incentives to build a new clean energy economy. For we know the nation that leads in clean energy will be the nation that leads. The world. I want America to be that nation. I want America's prosperity to be. Powered by what we invent and pioneer, not just what we borrow and what we consume. And I know that we can and will be that nation if we are willing to do what it takes to get there. Now, there are those who claim we have to choose between paying down our deficits on the one hand, and investing in job creation and economic growth on the other. This is a false choice. Ensuring that economic growth and job creation are strong and Sustained is critical to ensuring that we are increasing revenues and decreasing spending. On things like unemployment insurance so that our deficits will start coming down. At the same time, instilling confidence in our commitment to being fiscally prudent gives the private sector the confidence to make long-term investments in our people and in America. So one of the central goals of this administration is restoring fiscal responsibility. Even as we have had to spend our way out of this recession in the near term, we've begun to make the hard choices. Necessary to get our country on a more stable fiscal footing in the long run. So let me just be clear here. Despite what some have claimed, the cost of the Recovery Act is only a very small part of our current budget imbalance. In reality, the deficit had been building dramatically over the previous 8 years. We have a structural gap between the money going out and the money coming in. Folks passed tax cuts and expansive entitlement programs without paying. For any of it, even as healthcare costs kept rising, year after year. As a result, the deficit had reached $1.3 trillion when we walked into the White House. And I'd note, these budget-busting tax cuts and spending programs were approved by many of the same people who are now waxing political about fiscal responsibility. While opposing our efforts to reduce deficits by getting healthcare costs under control. It's a sight to see. The fact is we have refused to go along with business as usual. We are taking responsibility for every dollar we spend. We've done what some said was impossible. Preventing wasteful spending on outdated weapons systems that even the Pentagon said it didn't want. We've combed the budget, cutting waste and excess wherever we could. I'm still committed to having the deficit we inherited by the end of my first term, cutting it in half. And I made clear from day one that I would not sign a health insurance reform bill if it raised the deficit by one dime, and neither the House nor the Senate bill does. We've begun not only changing policies in Washington, we've also begun to change the culture in Washington. In the end, the economic crisis of the past year was not just the result of weaknesses in our economy. It was also the result of weaknesses in our political system. Because for decades, too many in Washington put off the hard decisions. For decades, we've watched as efforts to solve tough problems have fallen prey to the bitterness of partisanship. To prosaic concerns of politics, to ever-quickening news cycles. To endless campaigns focused on scoring points instead of meeting our common challenges. We've seen the consequences of this failure of responsibility. The American people have paid a heavy price. And the question we'll have to answer now is if we're going to learn from our past. Or if even in the aftermath of disaster we're going to repeat those same mistakes. As the alarm bells fade, the din of Washington rises, as the forces of the status quo marshal their resources. We can be sure that answering this question will be a fight to the finish. But I have every hope and expectation that we can rise to this moment. That we can transcend the failures of the past, that we can once again take responsibility for our future. Every night I read letters and emails sent to me from people across America, ordinary folks. People who share their hopes and their hardships. Their faith in this country, their frustration with what's happened in this economy. I hear from small business owners worried about making payroll, keeping their doors open. I hear from mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, who've seen one or two or more family members out of work. The toughest letters are in children's handwriting. Kids write to me, "My dad just lost a job." "My grandma is sick, she can't afford health insurance." Kids who can't just be kids because they're worried about mom having her hours cut or dad losing a job, or a family without health insurance. These folks aren't looking for a handout, they're not looking for a bailout. Just like those people I visited in Allentown, all they're looking for is a chance to make their own way. To work, to succeed using their talents and skills. And they're looking for folks in Washington to have a seriousness of purpose that matches the reality of their struggle. Everywhere I've gone, every stop I've made, there are people like this, men and women who have faced misfortune. But who stand ready to build a better future, students ready to learn, workers eager to work. Scientists on the brink of discovery, entrepreneurs seeking the chance to open a small business. Everywhere I go, there are once shuttered factories just waiting to whir back to life in burgeoning industries. there is a nation ready to meet the challenges of this new age and to lead the world in this new century. And as we look back on the progress of the past year, and look forward to the work ahead, I have every confidence that we will do exactly that. These have been a tough 2 years. And there will no doubt be difficult months ahead. But the storms of the past are receding. The skies are brightening. And the horizon is beckoning once more. Thank you very much. Barack Obama. Speech at Buchenwald concentration camp. Delivered June 4, 2009. Chancellor Merkel and I have just finished our tour here at Buchenwald. I want to thank Dr. Vokharniga, who gave an outstanding account of what we were witnessing. I am particularly grateful to be accompanied by my friend Elie Wiesel, as well as Mr. Bertrand Hers, both of whom are survivors of this place. We saw the area known as Little Camp where Elie and Bertrand were sent as boys. In fact, at the place that commemorates this camp, there is a photograph in which we can see a 16-year-old Elie in one of the bunks along with the others. We saw the ovens of the crematorium, the guard towers, the barbed wire fences. The foundations of barracks that once held people in the most unimaginable conditions. We saw the memorial to all the survivors, a steel plate, as Chancellor Merkel said. That is heated to 37 degrees Celsius, the temperature of the human body. a reminder where people were deemed inhuman because of their differences of the mark that we all share.